Wow, I had just wrapped up a wonderful conversation with my new friend, Charlynda Scales. Charlynda has so many accomplishments. She has done so much in her life, and I will make sure that everybody knows those things. But what I really want you to know is her story is so worth listening to. And it starts from something seemingly simple, maybe insignificant to those of us who are starting to listen in, but the significance of her granddaddy and what he gave her after he passed away changed her life forever. And it wasn't the only thing, but it put her on a path that she took and kept going. And it wasn't easy. It never is it? But I can't wait for you to hear my conversation with Charlynda Scales. Well, hello, and welcome to Story Sessions, where your story matters. I'm your host, Laura Lynn Donahue, and each week we gather for meaningful conversations rooted in lived experience. Let's dive in. Charlynda, welcome. I am so glad to have you today.
Thank you, Laura, for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I know that our listeners are in for a treat, and our viewers, because we are video as well as audio. And you look great, by the way. I love that color.
Thank you. Thank you. I was
You're
like, I gotta
welcome.
step it up for Laura now.
Oh, boy. Well, you look great. And we got to see each other not too long ago, briefly, and that was great in Tucson at the Tucson Festival of Books, which was
Yeah.
a lot of fun. Very
Yeah.
busy.
That's a really big festival.
Yes.
First time I've only been twice, but the first time that I was there, I tried to just take a break and go take a walk, and there was no way I was gonna be able to see the whole thing.
No. No, it's probably a mile to the end and a mile back, and if you want some lemonade, forget it. The line the line
Yeah,
is an hour,
line
but
was
it's
crazy.
fun. Yeah. Yeah. Well, for those who are tuning in and listening who don't know you, I'm excited for them to get to know you. And let's go back just maybe to your grandfather. I mean, you can certainly go back further than that, but just I know that he's integral in your story and some certain things about him that weave into there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I first and foremost, I'm a country girl from the hills of Tennessee. I grew up in Cookeville, which is not far from Nashville, and I was raised in the a multi-generational home with my grandparents and my mom and her sister.
Mm.
So, um, I think that is central to who I am because of that influence from a different generation. He was a retired Air Force veteran. He served in Korean Vietnam. He was an aircraft technician, and his name was Charlie Farrell, and his call sign was Mutt for his ability to blend in anywhere, make friends anywhere.
Mm.
And being raised in his house, he was my father figure. So I let people know, like, my grandfather was the man in my life who provided the wisdom and coverage in my youth. And just hearing his stories about service, I always held him in high regard. And now what people see, fast forward to the present, as the founder of Mutt Sauce barbecue sauce. He also created this barbecue sauce in 1956. He never um, had it as a company. So I inherited the original recipe on a piece of paper from him. It was after he had passed, but I learned from my mother that I had gotten the original recipe. Turned it into a product that people, oh, wait,
Oh,
it is
look at there.
and for those on video, it is an actual bottled barbecue sauce. The logo is his face, and it's called Mutt sauce, of course, because of his call sign Mutt.
I love
Um,
it.
I've had the company since 2014, and, there's a lot of lessons learned along the way, but that's where it started.
Okay, great. And did you call him by his call sign? Did you call him Mutt, or did you have another name for your
No,
grandfather?
I actually called him daddy. So I
Daddy.
called him
Okay. All
dad.
right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
He called
Okay.
me Tutti Frutti, and so sometimes I go to keynotes or different conferences, I could tell who's watched a video or read the book because 'cause they're like, "Hey, Tutti Frutti." I was like, "I told y'all, you can't be calling me Tutti Frutti," but I do know, I will respond still. I think it's just nature.
Well, that's great. So, did y your grandfather tell you why he handed the recipe to you? Did do any of your other family members know the recipe?
So we banded together as a family. Once it came out that I had gotten the original recipe, you can't copyright. This is just for anybody who wants to nerd out for a minute on
Yeah.
intellectual
Yeah.
property.
Let's
You
do it.
can't copyright or patent a food recipe unless it's like a method. So if you flip a pancake, that is something you could patent how you flip the pancake. But as far as like a written recipe, like Coke, Pepsi, all those things you hear about the vault, that's a real thing. You have to either lock it away or do
Mm.
non-disclosure statements. So all the members of my family who thought that they knew parts of the recipe signed indefinite non-disclosures. So that's the way that we as a family protected the original recipe. Again, my grandfather passed long before I even decided to turn it into a company, so
And, oh, you mentioned, that your grandfather was your father figure. What do you if you reflect back on him just here on the spot, can you, think of any one thing in particular that he taught you that still comes to mind today?
yeah. And yeah, he's definitely from an era of, like, you gotta let your work speak for itself because there's so many naysayers in the world that wanna, turn you into a statistic or say you're not supposed to make it because of X, Y, and Z, and he always let his work for speak for itself, and he always encouraged me to do the same. Never take anything nothing was ever just given to you. That's why I think it was so shocking that he gave me the recipe because he was so like, "You work for it. You work for everything." It was the
Yeah.
first time I'd even dared to ask for an allowance, and I debated him on, like, A's and B's, and I said, "Well, what do I get paid for C's?" And he just looked at me like the death stare. I'm like, "Anything. Are you serious right now?"
Take that out of your vocabulary.
Right? It's the look, the parental look. So I was very shocked. I'm like, as the final gesture of his life, he had stage 4 lung cancer. That's what eventually he passed of, and I was still just surprised that that was his last gesture was just to give me something, but I internalized the hard work, so my first instinct was, "What am I supposed to do with this? Like, what do I gotta do?"
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that, I think, is the reason why it resulted in me turning it into something because it didn't feel right to just shelve it.
yeah, yeah. So your grandfather said, let your work show and let others see, do the work, do the hard work. Don't let others get you down. Did you run into that in your life? Or people, I mean, even if we just even talk about the recipe or, mud
Mm.
sauce, just, I mean, were people like, oh, Charlinda, tutti frutti, you can't do that.
I think in some form or another, like, my whole life, there have been people who either didn't wanna believe that I was more than what I was, or, somehow where I was in life revealed something in them, and it was uncomfortable, and they didn't like it. My mother put me in a lot of programs, gifted and talented programs, science camps, and all kinds of things, so, um, you kinda stick out like a sore thumb in a place like Cookeville, Tennessee.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
was also half Nigerian, so my biological father had gotten an education visa to come to the US and study a double engineering degree. So he tested out very high, because they at that time, I can't remember which president, it was in the '70s, late '70s, but they were giving if you tested at a certain level in your schools, like, you had to be basically the valedictorian of whatever school you're in, and then you got sent to, the US to get a degree.
Okay. Okay.
So, he was in America on that double engineering degree, and growing up, being with my mother, she did the best that she could possibly do in her circumstances 'cause they eventually parted ways.
Mhm.
When I got when I was probably about kindergarten, 1st grade, my mom wanted to be on her own. She's like, she needs to see me being independent. She was very much a show rather than tell type of parent. So
Mhm.
she went out on her own, got an apartment. I did not know we lived in Section 8 housing till you get to school, and kids are really mean. And, I ended up in 4 schools before I settled at the school that I stayed at before 1st grade. So 4 schools by 1st grade.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, just
Okay.
because of the different things I was experiencing at the different schools. But she went back to college, and she got her it took her 11 years, but she wanted me to see, like, even if the world's telling you that statistically you're not supposed to make it, we're gonna make it. That's what we're gonna do. And so it was kinda just, we were a little team, just beating the odds beating the odds, and, yeah, there's always at some point in my life, there's been either the person who thought they could hold me back or wanted to let me know that I'm not gonna make it or something,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I just shrug my shoulders and keep going.
Yeah.
I hate that for you. I'm sorry you feel that way.
Yeah. You can own that, and I'm gonna do my thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you stay
I
there,
mean, yeah. So, when you had the idea and the drive to turn this recipe, Mutt sauce, into, something other than a cherished recipe on a card, but into an actual product, did you start on the shelves somewhere? Did you start do cottage industry? Tell the listeners a little bit about how
Mhm.
that came
So
about.
in the food industry, I was a freak of nature and I started backwards. So we'll start there.
Perfect. All right.
From the time that I started, I didn't know anything about the food industry. In fact, I come from a Southern family of really great cooks, and I am the worst cook of all of us. So I was not
Yeah.
I mean, like, I was not, quote, unquote, "qualified" to run a food business,
Mhm.
but feeling qualified is not a prerequisite to following your
No,
dreams.
that's right.
And
Well said.
I remember Googling free help.
Mm.
'Cause I wanted to just make a couple bottles for friends and family. What people see with Mutt's House now, it didn't even start there. It just started with me wanting to help people close the loop emotionally with him. This was
Mm.
something that he would give out to people as like a parting gift or a breaking bread kinda thing, or make a friend, console someone, backyard barbecue, family dinner. So, I knew the power of what he did with it, and I
Mhm.
just wanted to share that with friends and family that knew him. So my goal was not make a ton of bottles. It was like make
Mhm.
enough for the friends and family.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the mentor that I had, God rest his soul, John Suter, was a retired executive and had served, and he just volunteered his time at this place called Score, and SCORE provides free mentorship for startups. And he wanted to know about my grandfather's values. He said, I think what he wanted to do was he wanted to take care of the family, and then he realized he was running out of time. So this is like a baton that he's passing to you to say,
Wow.
whatever I was dreaming out loud about doing with this, because he would talk about it, go do the thing. So he validated kind of what I was thinking was, "What am I supposed to do with this?" He's like, "This is what I think you should do with this. But don't be intimidated by the fact that this is a tomato-based recipe and manufacturing and stuff." He gave me a checklist, just told me to check off a couple things. Don't really go ham with it. But freak of nature, from the time I met John to first production was 4 months.
Oh, wow.
Right. So that's what I was like, it was very fast. In food
Yeah.
industry, even just beta testing takes a year,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I just wanted to get it out there. We found a way. It was fully manufactured from day one. Our first manufacturer was an Amish family out in Chillicothe, Ohio. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we sold our first they made 700 bottles, they hand poured those, sold them all in, like, the first week. So after that, it was just I could see what he was saying, this is bigger than a couple bottles, but you're gonna have to go on this journey of entrepreneurship to discover what that means to you and to
Yeah.
the family,
Yeah.
and we replicated that, but I did start out with farmers markets, local events, festivals, and I never even had a website. So when people see mythoughts.com did not exist. And
Okay.
that is why I say it was backwards because most people will test it online, build the demand for the product, and then the grocery stores are calling you saying, "Oh, we send this product online. We really want this product." I was door to door. I got some mud sauce. What is that? It's barbecue. Okay. Kroger. I got some mud sauce. What is that? You know?
Nice.
So
Nice.
it was
That's hard
backwards
work.
because I was when you start to get contracts, they need to know who you are, and if they don't know who you are, you're spending tons of money in marketing.
Yeah. Wow. Um, so how did you Sutter, is that how did you come to know him? Was it through the service?
SCORE.
Because you were in the service, right, through
No,
SCORE, but was that
he was a SCORE volunteer.
okay, okay, all right. So,
Mhm.
but you do have a career in the military as well.
Yes, I was active duty when all this was happening.
Okay, all right, yep,
I was on active duties. When I went to high school, I wanted to be a I wanted to play sports, so I wanted to do soccer or track. First game senior year, tore my ACL, so all my sports scholarships went away. This kid was filling out a scholarship for Air Force ROTC, which is the scholarship Reserve Officer Training Corps. You become an officer after they pay for college. You go into
okay,
the Air Force for the
yep,
same amount of time they pay for school. I filled it out by some miracle. I got a full ride to the college of my choice, which was Clemson at the time. And that's when my grandfather let me know he wanted to salute me, but he had stage 4 lung cancer. And that to me was like was most impactful years of life because as I'm studying and trying to get to commissioning, he is fighting cancer with everything that he has, with this hope of, I'm going to be there at
mm,
your
mm,
commissioning. And he was actually the first person to salute me on active duty. So he passed away shortly after, like maybe a year after that. Less than a year after that, and then, I went into the military, but I was in the military for 8 years before I got the recipe for Mutt sauce, but I figured that there's not gonna be a convenient time. So that's
no,
one mentorship point that I give to people when they find themselves at a juncture in their life. Maybe they're, where I'm at is middle age, where you're at that halfway point of life. If you're gonna try and make it to 100, you're almost halfway. Or maybe you have kids or you start a new job and you're like, "Now it's not a good time." There's never going to be a time that is absolutely perfect to do something like entrepreneurship. And you just have to go and you just have to do it. And I truly believe that if you're brave enough and take the steps to start, then all the resources and help that you need are right on the other side of that door. You
yeah,
just gotta walk through it.
yeah,
And that's what happened. That's what John was for me. I didn't know. I didn't know
mhm,
how to do any of that.
yeah,
But
yeah,
John said, "You just gotta take the leap, and all the rest of the support will be there when you get there."
yeah, wow. Well, so when you were at Clemson and you learned about your grandfather and his health declining, how did you deal with that as a student? And you're, I mean, I probably weren't even 20 yet, but
Mhm.
that's a lot to take on, plus everything else you were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have to say this is a period of life where my respect for my mother grew
Mm,
tremendously.
mhm,
She's the oldest daughter of 5 siblings, and, at the time, her siblings were scattered all over the US. She was really the only one that was right there, always taking care of them. They would come, I'm
mm,
not saying that their siblings didn't, but she lived right there.
mhm,
And at a couple of junctures when I was in high school, my grandparents lived with us, so they
uh,
needed someone to take care of them. And, I just respect her because she decided with everything that was going on, that she was going to open up her own childcare facility. She's an early childhood educator, she loved children, and she said, "Why not take a bet on myself and see if I can
Mm.
stand on 2 feet rather than working for someone else?" So her days would be wake up early in the morning, take care of them, open up her childcare, work all the way sometimes to 5, 6, you know how kids, they get dropped off late or picked up late.
Yes. Yes.
And so, as soon as that was done, she would go back and go into caretaker mode, and she just did that for that whole time, and I almost felt bad. I felt part of me, because I'm an only child, I was like, I felt like I was kind of abandoning her,
Mm.
to
Yeah.
go off
Yeah.
and do the fun
Sure.
college life.
Yeah.
So, that's where my respect for her grew, because she's just like, "Make good grades, focus on school. This is a time for you in your life to, go and discover, different place outside of your home, and get on your own 2 feet, really grow
Mhm.
your in it." So, yeah, that's why was I sad? Yeah, I mean, even my cousins, Carlos and Dewan, who also lived with us in the house with him, they were stepping up to help her. My aunt, her little sister was, trying to be helpful too. It just
Mhm.
but I kind of felt a sense of guilt because I was in South Carolina while they were in Tennessee.
Single mothers are forces of nature. I just have so much respect. I have respect for all kinds of people, but it's the hardest job in the world to be a mother, in my opinion. And, I love knowing that you reflected back and spoke about your mom and just seeing her as a human being and not just, and I don't mean this in a derogatory sense, just, but as mom,
Yeah.
because
I don't wanna
sometimes,
take for granted that they don't have hopes and dreams of their own.
yeah, yeah, that's really special. Um, and so from, when did you go into active duty?
Yeah, I went to active duty in 2004.
Uh-huh.
So I graduated from Clemson with a degree in business management, aerospace science. And when I picked a job, I wanted to be intel. I wanted to be something like special investigation. I'm such a nosy Smurf. So I was like, give me a cold case. Like, I wanted to do something like that. They're like, "No, you got a business degree. You're gonna be acquisitions." I was like, "I don't even know what that is." But it's like
Yeah.
program management. So we, acquire capabilities for the warfighter. So if someone's downrange and they need something that does not exist, we either develop it or find it and buy it or build it
Mhm.
and modify it
Yeah.
and make sure
Yeah.
that we get it out to them as quickly as possible. So I've done that for 20, almost 22 years now. But, yeah, when I started out very green, I went down to Robins Air Force Base in Georgia, and, that was interesting because they do a lot of the back end of a program. So you think of a life cycle, it is make it, manage it, and dispose of it at some point, but they did a lot of the sustainment work down in Georgia, C-130 aircraft, so I was a program manager during the 2008 California wildfires. That was exciting. In my 20s, leading a team that's putting out the fire in California when Governor Schwarzenegger was the governor. They needed federal support. That's how bad those forest fires got, that they needed actual federal support, and we were sending planes from all over the US
Yeah.
to California. And so you just take from each assignment what you can, you learn from it what you can. Went to Hanscom after that in Massachusetts. I finally did get to do some really cool intel stuff on a deployment. So I left there for a while, went off the grid for 6 months, came back,
Okay.
and then they're like, "You're going to Ohio." I'm like, "What?" I was so upset, Laura. I was like, "Who did I piss off?" Really. I was like, "I've made someone mad." That they're sending me to. I just thought it was like Little House on the Prairie or like wheat
Right.
fields, the
Right.
bonnets and stuff, and,
Oh,
of
yeah.
course, when I started with, the folks in Chillicothe, I was like, "This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about."
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they had
Yeah.
the bonnets on.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But, went back to write Pat, and I said, "You know, I really like Ohio,
Mm,
and let me just put down roots here." And so
yeah.
I did. So I'm still
Okay.
here in Dayton, Ohio.
Oh, okay. Well, great. Well, okay. So for those of us who are not in the military, who might not know what downrange means, when you're making, uh, sorry, that's my dog just walked in.
You're fine.
Um, and acquisitions, and you need to make something for someone downrange. Just give us a little bit of description of what that means.
Sure. So, I mean, as we're doing I hear my six-year-old. So you get the dog, I got my six-year-old.
There we go.
What
It's
are
fine with
you
me.
doing? So we right now, we're in a conflict with Iran, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So if we have soldiers that are getting ready to go out there, it is a discussion of what is needed for this battle war, whatever they want to call it. You know, what is needed for this conflict? Do our soldiers have everything that they need to protect themselves and get home safe?
Hmm.
Do we have everything that we need to secure the area? Because in some instances, there's maybe embassies or people that are going to be still overseas. Do we have everything we need to take care of them? I remember post 9/11, it was a discussion of lethal versus non-lethal deterrence. So that means if we were looking at non-lethal ways to keep you out of an area if you're a bad guy, now it is okay, well, y'all came on our turf and hijacked our planes. We can't play with you no more. We can't,
Yeah.
it's no longer rubber bullets. The bullets are
Right. Get
real.
out of the sandbox.
Right. So, I was working a program that was protecting our nuclear weapons storage areas.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
we were trying to make sure that we could match the gravity of the situation to the security protocols and the equipment that we had there. So my job was like beef up the security basically
Okay.
of
Yeah.
all of these sites where we protect our things. But downrange, it is protect them. They need to get home. These are people's sons and daughters. And we owe it to them that if we're going to send them in harm's way, then we bring them home safe.
Well, as with a lot of jobs, if you don't know, you don't know. And to be able to hear you talk about it and just give, some explanation, some description, it brings, well, for me, it brings a sense of connection.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is significant to keeping the men and women safe and bringing them home to their families. So, and you are still doing that. So thank
Still
you.
doing it.
Thank you so
Love to
much.
do it.
Thank you.
Every story moves through stages, and Story Sessions is built to meet you at each one. Start with a focused discovery session to uncover your story's arc, and then move into a guided series that sharpens your voice, your positioning, and your path forward. And when you're ready, step into launch with expert coaching to help your story land with clarity and impact. And sometimes, when a story truly stands out, we don't just help guide it, we publish it. Find out where your story starts at storysessions.live.
So during the last few years, 2023, I think, is when you released your book,
Yeah.
Rock Bottom Has a Trampoline, which is a fantastic title, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about how that book came about. And also, I'm sure you've told this, I know you've told this, but the title itself, I was just telling a friend of mine today on a walk about your book, and she's like, well, I'm just going to read it because of the title. So go for it. Uh,
Yeah, there was an expression out there that said rock bottom has a basement.
mm,
And one, I was like, that sounds so depressing because there's no hope there. If you're at rock bottom, the one thing that you can cling to is hope.
Mm.
hope for a brighter tomorrow, hope that the situation you're in is not gonna last forever, hope that there will be healing at some point. And even in my own moments, I cling to that small hope. I mean, even if there's a glimmer of it, it's there, and I'm just gonna hold on tight to it. But I had a mentee of mine who told me that I was unrelatable for this simple fact that they thought I was so successful, so wildly successful that they couldn't relate. They're like, "Nothing has ever gone your way. I'm pouring my heart out about all the things that are happening." They were talking about their business and everything, pouring out their heart, and they said, "Oh, but you've been on Shark Tank and TV, and you've been in these magazines, and you don't ever talk about things not going right."
Mhm. Mm.
And I just felt such, a sense of shame and, like, I cannot believe I've used my voice so wrong that I'm unrelatable to this person who should know me very well, and it's only my fault that they think this way. And, I decided that I was going to open up at the next opportunity and tell people the real story of entrepreneurship, of life behind the business, and of those chapters of my life that I didn't read out loud. And that was actually a keynote. It was a keynote at Military Influencer Conference. It happens
Mhm.
every year. They pick a
Yeah.
different city every year. But at this one in Washington D.C., there are a couple things that I had a goal of letting them know all the stuff that had happened, and then two, I was actually pregnant, and
Mm.
I was pregnant as a consciously single person.
Mhm.
So I was trying to hide my stomach the whole conference. I'm like, ooh, that was taking forever. So,
Yeah.
I got up there on the stage and I let them know that at the height of what they thought was my success of being one of the companies picked by Bob Evans that they promoted for a year and gave us mentorship. And our mentor was Damon John from Shark Tank, and they gave us money. They put us on the boxes of food. Like if you bought the mashed potatoes from Bob Evans in the store, it had
Mhm.
my face on it. So they were doing all this promotion. So outwardly, publicly, everything was great. And even at the ceremony for to get the award and meet the CEO, Bob Evans, I was talking more about my military spouse and I was almost talking about myself because I thought we were two very accomplished people, but I was so proud to show off that I'm also a military spouse. Wanted to highlight him. And right a week after that, I left my marriage in the middle of the night with
Mm.
just and I was still doing interviews. I was still showing up on TV. I was still on the mashed potatoes,
Mhm.
and I lived this dual life of living in an empty apartment and then public success. And I didn't tell anyone, but I told them on
Yeah.
the stage that day. I showed them the picture of me in the empty apartment, and I showed them the side by side. I was like, "Remember this conference? We were all in these nice dresses. I bought this dress. I walked into the mall, took it off the rack. I knew I was going to return it. Went to the Mac store, had the lady at Mac do my makeup. The lady
Mhm.
who always has those like curling wands that wants to curl your hair. I let her curl. I was
Mhm.
like, what is you want to your hairstyle? Style it, girl. I don't have no money."
Yeah.
And she had invited me to this, star-studded event in Washington, D.C. to support veterans. So I'm showing up. Every day was just like, show up, even if it's not for
Mhm.
you, show up for other people until you can show up for you, until you have the strength to stand on your own 2 feet. And then I would go to these glitzy events and come back to that apartment, hang up the dress and sleep on a Coleman cot. Those cots you buy at the outdoor rec store, I was sleeping on one of those.
Yeah. Wow.
So that in that existence, I got a call, and the wild part was she was in the audience. The editor of Military Spouse magazine called me while I was in this situation and congratulated me because she had put me on the cover of Military Spouse magazine. Now, I'm going through a horrible divorce.
Mm. Yeah.
And I tried to convince her not to do it,
Mhm.
and she said, "This is bigger than you." And I'm looking at her like, I mean, I'm listening to her saying, "What do you mean? 'Cause it's bigger than what is bigger than this moment right here?" I was so ready for her to just join me in the misery, and
Mm,
she's like,
mhm,
"I'm not that friend. I'm not that
mm.
person who's gonna let you sit here and wallow when I'm trying to uplift not just you, but a whole nation of military spouses. Y'all are not given awards for your ability to put dinner on the table by 7 and read people's briefings so they're ready for work. You are running a company in a different state and working at the Pentagon and being a military spouse and showing up for other veterans. And that is why you're going on the cover." And she's like, "I need you to get up off that cot. I need you to get up
Mm.
and act like you're blessed and highly favored today.
Yeah,
Act
yeah.
like you have a gift." And that's when it turned from rock bottom has a basement to rock bottom has a trampoline. And I just kinda internalized that. That was like my own personal mantra that I was every day, "Get up. Rock bottom has a trampoline. We're gonna bounce back from this, little by little." And it took years. I mean, I still, it's never gonna be a one-time thing and you never have hardship again, but it let me know that you can survive the impossible levels of pain and trauma. You can walk forward.
Yeah. Well, that's so true, and I think that, it's not uncommon for, us to give a hierarchy to trauma.
Yeah,
"Well, she has it so much worse than I do," or, "Oh, they're doing it, and I can't do it. I'm not." And we have to really come back around and say, "You know what? This is my trauma. This is my
yeah,
situation. Nobody else is going to do it but me, and that's real. And
yeah.
that is what you're given, what you have to handle, and it doesn't get a w one is worse than the other. It is what's related to you and your circumstances. People
I
I'm
do
sure
know, like, sometimes veterans try to rack and stack pain because they compartmentalize, like, "Okay, was this as bad as this other thing? Oh, no,
Yeah.
okay, I guess I'll" you know?
R
But
right.
you're right, everybody you have to give grace,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Because what was easy for you to get past is, like, almost about to take somebody else out.
Yeah. Yeah.
They might not have had all these opportunities to grow. This might be their first traumatic thing in their 30s or 40s,
Yeah.
and I do have a different lens because, like we were talking about earlier, I've been through hardship my whole life
Mhm.
in some
Mhm.
way or another, so I do tend to compartmentalize or rack and stack, "Was this as bad as this?" to help
Mhm.
me mentally just, that's
Yeah.
that's how I try to do it, but you have to give grace to other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
absolutely have to give grace to other people.
Yeah. And when we think to ourselves, "Oh, I could never do what he did," or "I could never do what they did," you have to remember that you're not in that situation, because when you're in the situation, you have to do what you have to do to get through it. And somebody might look at your situation and say, "I don't know how you got through that." And you're like, "Oh, I don't know how I got through it either, but I had to." I had to get through it.
We tend to put rock bottom moments in this category of not useful, things to avoid, things to quickly forget and bury, never to be reflected on again. But I have found it to be something I appreciate. And my mother, again, God bless her, I was trying to look for something profound, like, "Mom, give me some profound step to getting past this pain because it's
Mm,
suffocating me." And she said, "There will be a day where you wake up and no one's gonna mess up your day." I was dealing with a lot of emotional stuff, so she said, "You can wake up, do things that you desire to do that day. Nobody's gonna say anything to you that's going to be hurtful. Nobody's gonna do anything that's gonna be hurtful, and you're gonna
mm,
have a great day and lay your head down that day." And if you feel like it's too painful, the day is too painful, lay down and
Mm,
just go to sleep. If you feel like you can't make it to tomorrow, I want you to go to sleep right then. I was like, "What?
mm,
What?" Found about that is because when you wake up, you are wrong. The moment you pop your eyes open the next day, you are wrong about not being needed tomorrow.
mm,
Because
mm.
if you weren't needed in this world, your eyes would not open. You would not be breathing. You would not be part of tomorrow. And so I did it. It took many days. Next day, I wake up and it just got a little bit less painful each day. And I remember my first good day. It was wintertime and I was hiding out in this high rise, but there was like an ice rink in the quad. And I just remember waking up and having a coffee and watching the kids ice skate in the quad. I went down. There was like you know, I'm middle class. I'm like, oh, going to TJ Maxx. I went to TJ Maxx.
Yeah, I love it, TJ Maxx.
Yeah. Got myself something to wear, had lunch at the restaurant next door, and then went back up, went to the gym. I swam. So I was something I was like, I came back and she called me. She's like, "How was your day?" And I was like, "Today was fantastic. It was great."
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
By tuning into this podcast, you understand one thing. Everyone has a story to tell, and that includes you. But sometimes we need a little help to bring our story into the world. That's where Story Sessions comes in. We're a collective of published authors, editors, and experienced storytellers who know that great stories aren't manufactured, they're revealed. Through thoughtful listening, guided conversations, and respect for your voice, we help uncover the story that is already inside you. Story Sessions. Your story told the way it was meant to be. Find out more at storysessions.live.
You discover that it doesn't have to be, or let's say it this way, what seems to be not profound is profound because of its simplicity of enjoyment. Just that
Hey.
savoring. And yes, as you were talking, I can remember a feeling and saying to someone, today was a good day. And I had, some years of not very good days. And your mother asked you, and I don't know if that's when you had the realization or if you were, recognizing it throughout the day. But for me, it was when the person asked me, and I thought, oh, it has been a good day. I didn't cry today. That's a good
Yeah.
day. It's okay to
Yeah.
have have crying. Crying's fine. Sleeping's, but yeah.
Even at this juncture of life, because all that was 2016, it was almost 10 years ago, but
Hmm.
I didn't realize until I was at rock bottom that I didn't know what peace felt like
Mm,
because my mental state was constantly you have to stay 2 steps ahead or you have to prevent making a mistake that would upset someone.
mm,
So I was overthinking. I was already someone who was I think a lot. I'm thinking all the time, but I was
yeah.
thinking in overdrive to the point of never relaxing and never being clear-headed and not really sleeping because even when I was sleeping, I was going through checklists in my head of how to be prepared for tomorrow to stay 2 steps ahead of someone else. That's what it was. She said, "There's gonna be a day you wake up and there's no checklist,
Mm,
nothing to stay ahead of."
yes. Yeah. It's it takes us a long time to learn that lesson.
Yeah. Peace. And now
Peace.
I'm like, I'm ruined because I know what this will feel like. I am ruined for all time. I apologize again for anybody who even likes me. You are competing now with my peace.
Well, like, yeah, but isn't that self care?
It is self-care, and, and that's what it's supposed to be,
Yeah.
and even in our situations, there's separate ways. I wish peace for him, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
it had to been kinda the same feeling if there's 2 people who were never feeling peace, he didn't have peace either, so, I wish that for people. Now that I know what that
Mm.
feels like, I wish that for people when I sit and counsel them or I'm in mentoring sessions, I'm like, how do we get you to this feeling of peace that you can rest? I want you to be rested.
Yeah. So, is the bounce on the trampoline piece?
I think that's what it was. Not so much the peace, but the self actualization
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
I'm okay with everything that has happened because I was also in this war of like, why did this happen to me?
Yeah.
I was looking down negatively on all these situations. Why am I forced to start over? What am I going to do? And the attitude that I had with the situation was really sour. So I had to come to a point of appreciating who I was, where I was in life, and the fact that I've been giving a second opportunity. I think that's now what I have that has changed the game for me professionally is I don't show up just because I need to show up. I'm going to show up where I know it will be impactful. I know that it will be, um, someone will be fed from it intellectually, emotionally, from whatever it is. And I protect my boundaries more. And that's partially because my son, it's let me know that I don't have infinite time. My son is a miracle. And I don't have all this time with him. And if I do get time, I'm not going to be sitting in endless meetings like I was before.
So, when you get to self-actualization and you're getting that bounce back in your step, I wanna go toward, like, the mind, where the mind sits, the process of the mind. Where have I Is it something that's, finally clicked
Mm.
in my mind? Is it a heart relationship? Am I Is it a combination of both? I wanna move a little more into the from the head to the heart.
So, yeah, so it's a journey. It's a
Mhm.
journey of self-actualization. One of my favorite books actually is Paulo Coelho, The Alchemist,
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
a journey of a young man, and he's looking for a treasure, right? But the treasure was the journey itself and people that he saw along the
Yes.
way. Like, the treasure was always with him.
Yeah.
And so that's what I started really internalizing is the gift is this journey.
Yeah, that's great. Well, there are so many more things that I, could talk to you about. So, will you come back for season 3 perhaps, and we can
Yes.
talk some more?
Let me
Okay.
know. There's stuff on the horizon because I know I was talking to we both know Julie Brand, the W
Yeah.
Brand Publishing,
Yeah.
and Julie. The journey with Julie and Brunello has been such
Mm,
a gift. And
yeah.
right after I did that speech about Rock Bottom has a trampoline, that's when
Mm,
Brunello walked up to me and said, "This needs to be a book." I said, "Well, I'll work on it."
yeah.
And she kept every year, she's like, "Have you written the book?" "No."
Mm,
"Okay. Well, Imma just keep checking on you."
yeah.
And it was because she was trying to let me know, you have a story, doesn't necessarily mean that your gift is writing.
Yes.
And that was the part where I had to just give up that control of like, "Oh, wow, okay, there is a difference."
Mhm.
And it
Mhm.
is okay to let the person who that is their gift walk in it. Because where I wanted to be, as Brunella said, you wanna be on stages doing keynotes. You
Yeah.
wanna be, giving workshops. You wanna do one-on-ones, and it's much easier to hand them a book. They have
Mhm.
something tangible they can take with them after they've met you.
Yeah.
And she said,
Yeah.
"How do we get to that place fastest?
Yeah.
I know you think you can write this, but this is not your gift." Yes. And then Julie for even believing her and just taking Brunella's word and saying, "Yeah, I'll publish this." She's,
Yeah. Yeah.
Never written a book before, but I'll publish it.
She's amazing. She has a wonderful vision, and we're expanding that opportunity for people who are not writers, so to speak, with our companion platform to Story Sessions. It's storysessions.live, and it's where you will have a guide. Basically, it would be me or one of our other interviewers interview you and you get to tell your story. But the whole point is to offer the opportunity to people who have a story to tell, because everyone's story is worth telling. If you would like to get it out there, then there's another opportunity, and you don't have to type it. You don't have to write it. You can talk it and be prompted. And I'm really glad that your story is out there, because
Thank you.
you're an
It's
inspiration.
another level of peace.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, I think I'm gonna wear that today for the rest of the day. I just put a cloak of peace on. I felt it.
That's what it is. It's all about. That's what it's all
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for you, and thank you for
Thank you.
letting us continue telling our stories.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much, Charlynda, for being here. And I will, in our show notes, I'll have links for your book. And we didn't get to talk about
Right.
6888. So I'm going to put all of it in there, but then we can talk about more at another time. I appreciate
Lovely.
your time.
Lovely.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye. Thanks so much for listening to Story Sessions, where your story matters. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a 5-star review, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone you know. To learn more about the Story Sessions family, visit storysessions.live. That's storysessions.live. Thanks so much, and see you next week.